Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Jazakallah for having me here. When I come to Jamaat-e-Islami, it's not like coming to any organization. It's like coming home. So I'll speak to you as a journalist, yes, but I also speak to you as your brother in Islam. And what we can together do to present the Muslim viewpoint better in our national media, to present the truth in front of our countrymen and women. First and foremost, what I would like to draw attention to is what we should not do. ये बात थोड़ी नेगेटिव लग रही होगी शायद आप लोगों को, but it is important to understand what we should not do. Then automatically we'll arrive at what we should be doing or what we ought to do. First and foremost thing, if you are drafting a press release for the media, never ever under any circumstances take a long press release to any media house or mail it to any media house. Believe me, a person who is writing on this subject, whether he is just a correspondent or he is an editor, he is usually short of time. What he wants is a capsule course from your end. He doesn't want a 5-course meal. So just stick to the point. Do not give anything more than 200 words under any circumstances unless you are specifically asked by a particular correspondent or by a particular editor or a newspaper concerned. Keep yourself sharp, sweet, to the point. कई बार क्या होता है, हम लोग एक चीज़ जो 20 लफ्ज़ों में कह सकते हैं, we end up using 50 words for it. Avoid that completely. I'll give you an example. I just come from Noida to attend this session. So I can say, in order to come to Jamaat-e-Islami premises in Delhi, I took a car which took me 25 minutes to reach from Noida to Jamaat-e-Islami. बोल सकते हैं ना सर? But we should not speak like that. And we should not write like that. We should say, it took me 20 minutes to reach from Noida to Jamaat-e-Islami premises. Simple. आपने वही बात कह दी, कम लफ्ज़ों में कही. The lesser words you use, the more impact you will have with the journalist concerned. Because उसके पास ज़्यादा वक्त नहीं है, he can read maybe half a page, quarter page, at the most 1 page. So if in those 100 or 200 words you can convey whatever you had to convey, that means you have won the battle. But if you haven't conveyed it in 200 words or so, that means you have lost the battle. That is the first thing. Second thing is, when we are going to any media house, we must know what is our target. हम ऐसे गोली नहीं चलाते ना कि इधर चल जाए दाएं बाएं, जिधर भी गोली लग जाए किसी को भी लग जाए फर्क नहीं पड़ता. We should not have that perspective, and we should not think that one size fits all. Often what I see from Jamaat-e-Islami and many other Muslim organizations in general, they draft one particular press release in English, in Urdu, in Hindi. और वो तीनों वो अलग अलग अखबारों में या मैगजीन्स में या चैनल्स में मेल कर दिया जाता है. कई बार जो पीआर के लोग होते हैं वो इसका भी ध्यान नहीं रखते दैट यू आर फ्रॉम अ हिंदी न्यूज़पेपर, तो आपको सिर्फ हिंदी का प्रेस रिलीज भेजें. और इफ़ यू आर फ्रॉम इंग्लिश, देन ओनली द इंग्लिश प्रेस रिलीज शुड बी सेंड टू यू, बिकॉज इट इज़ कन्वीनियंट फॉर देम टू सेंड 3 अटैचमेंट्स. एक बार 3 अटैचमेंट्स कर दिया, सेंड ऑल पे प्रेस कर दिया. Believe me, you immediately lose the faith of that particular correspondent who receives a mail like that, which has a press release in 3 languages. If he writes in Hindi, please send him only the Hindi press release, not the English, Urdu or any other regional language press release. Same for the English or Urdu one. Also, when you are writing for a newspaper and a magazine, the focus has to be completely different. जब आप न्यूज़पेपर में खोज रहे हैं अपना पीस, then the focus has to be on the immediate. What has happened on that particular day, or what is likely to happen on that particular day? What is the response of your organization to the ongoing development? You should focus only and only on that. I'll give you an example. Like the Waqf Act hearing was going on in the Supreme Court. If at that time somebody sent me a press release, I will not name the organization, saying the Waqf Act was changed in 1995 and then there was an amendment in 2013 and then Modi government introduced this in August 2024, I or no or other journalist won't have time for it. You should just come to the point. What did the Supreme Court say in its observation today? Like एक दिन Supreme Court ने बोला that there cannot be different yardsticks for different religions when it comes to religious votes. That means it was a positive note for the Muslim petitioners who had gone to the court against the Waqf Act. So on that day, the first line had to be, the Supreme Court gave a thumbs up to the Muslim petitioners' argument that only Muslims deserve to be on the Waqf board. And the next time you can say that the Supreme Court drew a parallel with the Hindu religious bodies and the Sikh religious bodies and so on and so forth. लेकिन अगर उसी में आगे लिखेंगे the hearing has been going on for 20 days or 15 days and last hearing में ये कहा था आज परसों ये कहा था तो you lose the battle. You should stick to what is the latest. जैसे आप अखबार खोलते हैं ना सुबह तो जो सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट खबर होती है वो पेज 1 पर होती है, जो ओपिनियन होता है वो अंदर होता है. Same thing with your press releases when you're sending it to the media. At the moment we're talking of newspapers. Second thing which I personally find very odd with Jamaat-e-Islami press releases in general and also Jamiyat releases at times, when one of your dignitaries is being quoted, you insist on giving ultimate respect to the gentleman concerned. वो आपके लिए important है that this thing has been said by Mr. Sayyid Sadullah Hussaini Sahab and whatever, but for the press, just the first time around, use the full name. Only the first time. Second time around, you don't have to add Janab, Sahab, Sir at all. Just use the surname. Said Mr. Hussaini. Which is something which doesn't get through to the people in many bodies for whatever reason. Maybe they want to be more loyal to the king than to the job they have been asked to perform. Second thing along with that is the speed. If your organization has a specific thing to say to a Supreme Court judgment, to an action of the central government or the state government, say it quickly. If the state government has come up with a new plan to say, demolish certain Muslim houses in Uttar Pradesh or Madhya Pradesh, say it by afternoon. Don't wait till 15 days later, which you have over here. You have a press conference every 15 days. Believe me, in today's times, nobody is going to wait for 15 days for Jamaat-e-Islami to put forward its viewpoint. It's not the most charitable thing I am saying, standing here in these very premises, but this is important to understand. The media wants your viewpoint then and there. The media doesn't want to wait for 15 days to understand what does the chief of Jamaat-e-Islami or the general secretary of Jamaat-e-Islami has to say. In some cases, the court will come up with its hearing, observation or order by the end of the day, say 4:30, 5 o'clock. The moment the court gives its judgment or observation in public by 4:35, within half an hour, your top boss or any responsible officers quote should be there in the press release and it should be sent immediately. If you send the press release to the newspaper at 7 o'clock, 7:30, chances are you would have lost the battle. फिर जो भी उसके हाथ में आएगा, जिस भी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन से कच्चा पक्का सही गलत, वो उसको वो छाप देंगे. Because I have these experiences myself. There have been times when we have sought a viewpoint from Jamaat on a particular issue, and the viewpoint has come, they say, okay, give us some time, give us some time, give us some time. And that time goes on from 5 o'clock to 9:30. At 9:30, you give the time, but a paper like the Times of India would be in the press by then. Then there's no point giving that viewpoint at that time. Or if you share it the next day, again, it is of very little purpose. So speed is essential. Equally important is adherence to truth. What is important is what you are trying to tell the media, the larger country through them, is that this is what the reality is and not what our Prime Minister says or any MP, MLA says or even a media house says. For that you have to be, all of us, not just you, I and everybody else, we have to act as the foot soldiers of Islam. We have to understand that Allah Ta'ala is Adil, He stands for justice, He stands for truth, He is Haq. So our press releases, our statements, whatever we pass on to the media, have to adhere to these two guidelines. And remember, when we send anything to the media, we obviously within the organization, you have to have a responsible officer or responsible official speaking on behalf of the entire unit as such. But equally importantly, make sure that nobody from the organization speaks to the media who is not authorized to speak to the media. You have to cross-check the things at your end so that you don't have to come up with a corrigendum a couple of hours later or maybe the next day. You must remember what is told to us through Surah Hujurat, that we are supposed to cross-check any bit of news which comes because the devil might be operating through him or her. So we have to cross-check that and guard against that. Having said that about the newspapers and the essential requirement of sticking to the point and marrying that point with the speed. Now I'll tell you what we should be doing when we are addressing the magazines, the weekly magazines, the fortnightly magazines. अगर आपने उनको 200 वर्ड लिख के भेज दिया, that will be a very limited use to them. For the chances are they would have already seen it through any newspaper coverage, any news agency coverage. PTI ने डाल दिया होगा, UNI ने, Hindu, Times of India, किसी ने भी न्यूज डाल दी होगी. So they can pick it up from there. What is it that you can provide to them what they do not have on their own? That is where your work comes into play. This time, you should not be sending a brief press release of 200 words confined to half a page or one page only. This time, send them the backgrounder. And an extensive backgrounder, high on facts, low on opinion. Let the media form its own opinion on the basis of fact. Your job is that your opinion should come in the media. But if you present it as your opinion, they will not reproduce it. You have to guide the reporter concerned, the editor or the correspondent concerned, to write what you want him to write. For that, you have to gently nudge him with all the facts. I'll give you another example. After the Babri Masjid verdict came in November 2019, there have been so many petitions against different mosques in North India where Hindu petitioners have alleged that this mosque was built after demolishing a particular temple. Whether it is Sambhal or Mathura or Varanasi, Allahabad or Badaयूं, it just goes on and on. Now supposing we are talking of Sambhal case, just hypothetically, and you have to sell this story to the media. You don't want that the media should report only what the Sessions Court said. Sessions Court ordered a survey. अगर आपने यही मैगजीन में, इंडिया टुडे में, फ्रंटलाइन, आउटलुक वगैरह में भेज दिया, what is it new that you are offering? So there, your first job is to say what the Sessions Court has said, that it ordered a survey. Importantly, you have to add who was present during the survey. From the Muslim side, from the Hindu side, from the administration side, you have to add that, pad up that press release, saying the survey was conducted in the presence of 200 people. About half of them were Muslims, some of them were Hindus, including 10 officials of the government of Uttar Pradesh. In the next sentence, also present were representatives of the district magistrate or the police commissioner and so on and so forth. So you have given the basic detail to the magazine on which to build its story. Then in the next thing you talk about the history of Salam. why this mosque is important and when was it constructed, who constructed the mosque, and why it is with the Archaeological Survey of India today. वो सब चीज़ें fill up करना है हमें when we are talking to the media. After you have done the basic thing about the Sambal Mosque, then you have to come to the point what you want the media to highlight. उसको हम पेज वन पर डालेंगे तो गड़बड़ हो जाएगा मीडिया मैगजीन के साथ में. कि Sambal is not the only example of petitioners seeking to build a Hindu temple on a mosque. Similar petitions have been filed in Badaयूं, in Ajmer, in Mathura, and so on and so forth. Also, equally important, you have to point out who is the petitioner behind Sambal Mosque. You must highlight to the media that the same gentleman who went to the Sessions Court for Sambal also had gone to the Sessions Court in Varanasi. He had also gone to the court in Badaयूं. He had also gone to the court in Mathura. And it is his habit that wherever he picks up a Muslim mosque, he goes to the court. The father and the son concerned. Either the father goes to the court and the son fights the battle, or the son goes as a petitioner and the father is the advocate for the particular case. So it's not that the larger Hindu society is up in arms against Muslim mosques. It's a couple of individuals who are not being highlighted in the media. So our job will be to make sure that some newspaper, some magazine, some channel begins to talk on those lines. So these are two important things about our magazines as such. But when you're talking to the magazines, you've presented your viewpoint. There should be a supplementary press release or a phone call from your end to magazines. And that is, you can say, on this subject, I can organize a meeting or a telephonic conversation with the lawyer of the Sambal Mosque, who is representing the Muslim Personal Law Board or the Masjid Intizamiya Committee. I can organize a one-to-one, face-to-face, or an interview over the phone with you. Or if you give me the questions, we'll get you the answers through the lawyer. Facilitate that conversation. Because it's important that the Muslim side should be heard in the media. It should be present in the media beyond that one sentence which the lawyer would have said coming out of the court to the media. We want that extensive coverage should be given to the Muslim issue from a Muslim perspective. So we have to organize that meeting. Either it is physical meeting or it's a telephonic thing or an email thing. Now, there's a vested interest also. After all, I believe you all are from Jamaat-e-Islami only. You would also want that the Jamaat-e-Islami's viewpoint should also be taken into consideration. So just say, okay, if you want, we can organize a meeting with our president or a general secretary or the vice president at a moment of your choice. So he or she will say, okay, I'll come back to you. So wait for a day, because he is not working for a newspaper. He's working for a magazine. So he can afford to take another day. So just tell him, okay, you take your time. Maybe in between, these are the 2-3 points which I have in my mind, which you can present in front of our president or general secretary or vice president, as the case may be. तो खामोशी से उसके जहन में 2-3 पॉइंट डाल देना है. Then maybe you could ask, how often has Jamaat-e-Islami been involved in such battles? How long normally does it take? And what is their viewpoint about fighting these cases in the light of the Constitution of India? Again, आपने वो जो conversation होने वाली है, उसको हल्के से स्टीयर उधर कर दिया जिधर आप चाहते हैं. और मीडिया के ज़्यादातर लोग सोचने समझने की सलाहियत नहीं रखते, which is a very terrible thing to say because I'm from the media. Again, and they do not often use their brains. There's a herd mentality in the media. So you have to make sure that people think, act, talk, write what you want them to write, what you want them to talk, what you want them to discuss. These are the two things. Next thing you should do in today's times, particularly with the magazines and also with the digital sections of any newspaper, try to organize a podcast with any individual related to the case. Like if we are talking of case in the Supreme Court, just present an option before the digital editor of, say, the Hindu or Hindustan Times or any other magazine or newspaper, that, sir, we can organize a podcast with Mr. So-and-so of Jamaat-e-Islami, or we can organize a podcast with certain lawyer who represented the Muslim faction in the Babri Masjid case, or in the Sambal case, in Mathura case, whatever the case may be, or the Waqf thing. And believe me, in most of the cases, they will accept. And when you present a particular lawyer as a possible guest for a podcast, or a particular representative from Jamaat-e-Islami or any other Muslim representative from your side, make sure that he or she is multilingual. In the sense that he knows English, but he can also converse in Hindi, Urdu, or maybe in a regional language, be it Malayalam or Telugu or Kannada. Because what happens is, most of the newspapers and magazines these days, when they do podcast, they're happy to have somebody speaking in Hindi also. उसके नीचे टिकर लगातार लगा देते हैं इंग्लिश का, and you get across to more people in comparison to somebody who can only speak one language. But when you're sending a particular gentleman's name for a podcast, please make sure that he or she is a good speaker, that he or she is a fluent speaker. He could be the best writer, he could be very knowledgeable, he would be having good knowledge of history as well as Islam. But if he cannot converse in a one-to-one conversation, that means he is not good enough for a podcast. For a podcast, the person has to be sharp, witty, and say that whatever he has to say with a smile on his face. That is the way to attract more eyeballs, and in future to get more correspondents queuing up for the same gentleman for the podcast. These are the 2-3 things. Now on to the next aspect of the media in today's times. The media is no longer just what you see first thing in the morning with your newspaper or with your magazine which comes after 7 days, 15 days, Radiance, Outlook, India Today, Frontline, etc. The media is now, at this particular moment. How do we tap that particular moment? Think about it. If we send a press release after 1 hour, maybe we can tap it, but most likely we will not. If we send a press release at the end of the day, we'll certainly lose. If we organize an interview, offer the interview next day, and then it happens after another day or two, we are not tapping the immediate in there. For any immediate thing to get across to the media, you have to be on your feet 24/7. Think on your feet and supply what the media probably doesn't even realize it needs. I'll give you one example again. The day the Waqf Act was passed, Waqf Bill was passed by a parliament, if any one of us was at that time alive to the occasion, he or she would have spoken to one individual, any MP who had opposed the bill, say just hypothetically take it as Owaisi sir, taken one quote from him on the phone or one-to-one in conversation over that, added to that one quote from your General Secretary or your President, and sent it to the press through a small video. Just a WhatsApp video or a Zoom interview video, send it to the press then and there. They will run it online. Maybe they will run it only for 8, 10 hours, 12 hours, and then their own correspondents would have this story, and then they will not use your story. But for those 8, 10, 12 hours, we'll get lakhs of people listening to your viewpoint, watching what you want them to watch. It takes a little bit of guts and a little bit of enterprise to do it. But this is something which should be done. This is something which I have encouraged our own correspondents to do in our office. That whenever anything, something like that takes place, catch hold of an MP then and there outside the parliament, speak to him for a couple of minutes and send us the video. We'll run it immediately. I'll say the same thing to you guys. Only thing is your job will be a little bit more difficult. You speak to the MP concerned for a minute or two, but also get a quote from your own official so that it goes as the Jamaat version to the press. The Jamaat says this or the MP says this, and they are both speaking the same language. At times they may not be speaking the same language, even then send it. The Jamaat doesn't agree with what a certain MP has to say or what a particular party has to say on the particular issue. So these are the things in daily reporting which we have to take care of. Short, sharp, to the point press releases where speed is of essence for any national daily. Stick to the language which the newspaper follows. English for English newspaper, Urdu for Urdu newspapers, Hindi for Hindi newspapers. Never ever send the same press release to everybody of different languages just because it is convenient for you to send all. Don't do that. For magazines, send the background, send the history, try to organize interviews with your own people, offer them podcasts and so on. For developing stories, be on your feet, send a small video, as little as 1 minute also, 1.5 minutes also, but send it to the press immediately. Don't wait कितना कि अभी पार्लियामेंट में सर मैंने रिकॉर्ड करा है, ऑफिस में आके एडिट करता हूँ, लंच टाइम हो रहा है, जोहर का वक्त है, जोहर पढ़ लूँ, खाना खा लूँ, फिर एडिट करके भेजूँगा. No, you would lose all the possibility of getting the early bird. Your chance has to be, it should be there first and foremost. And Alhamdulillah, you have your India Tomorrow here, you have your Radiance here, and then you can send it to the other papers. Nobody will say no. After all, you are providing them extra service free of cost. For the same thing, the newspapers will hire Reuters, UNI, PTI, give them a package at the end of the month. You do it a few times, then the papers will start calling you up. आज आपने कुछ भेजा नहीं, मोदी साहब ने ये जो कहा था इसके बारे में. The day somebody calls you up for that, that means you have won the battle. You have made your own mark. Now we go on to what is not strictly within my domain, but it is still related to what we do every day. I was told to emphasize PR for clarity of speech and expression. अभी तक जो हमने बातें करी that they are more like a dispassionate, impersonal conversation. Like you mail somebody, you text somebody, whatever. What is important in today's times is not just impersonal conversation, no matter how prompt and direct it is. It's important to have your personal relationship with certain editors, certain correspondents, and certain reporters. Why? Because there should be at least 3-4 guys in different channels for all of you who will pick up your phone whatever time you call them up, unless they are in a meeting or something like that, who would normally take your call or at least respond to your call or to your text messages. It's important to have that kind of understanding, that kind of rapport. For that, you have to do 2 things. In the days gone by, log kaam karte the, they'll go to the newspaper office. I will not advise you to do that or try to do that today. Okay, you want to go to Times of India office or the Hindu or Express office, people act busy. At times they are busy, but journalists have this great tendency of acting busier than they are. So give them that right. Okay, sir, आप बहुत busy हैं सर, मैं समझता हूँ आपका बहुत टाइम है, हर कीमती है आपका एक लम्हा. Give them that right. But catch them on the social media. Catch them on Twitter, the best way, or LinkedIn, Insta. Last choice, WhatsApp. Catch them there, send them direct messages on Twitter. 80% of journalists are very active on Twitter, and many of them think it is a matter of their ego to tell the other guy, okay, I've got 10 lakh followers, I've got 20 lakh followers, or whatever the case may be. So send a direct message to him or her on Twitter about whatever you want him to say, whatever the conversation you want him to have. Equally importantly, for that gentleman to respond to you. Either you would have met him at some press conference, if that is the case, fine. Otherwise, make sure that you respond to his tweets. When he puts something on Twitter or Insta, respond to that. You don't just have to say congratulations, Mubarak. You can put forward your viewpoint also, engage in a dialogue, engage in a debate also. That way, those walls of formality are broken. जिस बंदे से आपका बिल्कुल फॉर्मल ताल्लुक था, आप उसको सर कहते थे, one fine day you engage him in a debate on Twitter on the same subject, obviously within the confines of civil language, then obviously that person comes to you on the first name basis. जिस दिन आपको किसी को मिस्टर खान, मिस्टर शेख, मिस्टर सलाम नहीं कहना पड़े, उनके फर्स्ट नाम से बुलाएं, तो दैट मीन्स आपने अपना काम कर दिया है PR में. The PR flourishes when you have that personal relation with the individual concerned. Equally importantly, we just talked of sending the press release and everything to different newspapers and maybe videos also. After you have sent the video and the press release to the media, not immediately at the same time, maybe 3-4 hours later, आप वही press release, वही video अपने Twitter account पे डालिए and the Twitter account of your organization, so that any smaller organization whom you have not tapped, he also wants to cover that, can see that press release, can see that video. अगर वही चीज़ आपने दिन में 12 बजे 1 बजे डाल दिया तो फिर एक्सक्लूसिव चीज़ जो है हिंदू के लिए या फ्रंट लाइन या किसी भी अखबार के लिए वो ख़त्म हो जाएगी, तो नहीं यूज़ करेंगे आगे से. उसी चीज़ को आपने दिन में 12 बजे बड़े चैनल्स को दे दिया, बड़े अखबारों को दिया, शाम में 6 बजे आपने ट्विटर पे डाला, तो अब वो छोटे अखबार, छोटे मैगजीन से ये चीज़ हो गई, आम हो गई. अब वो एक्सक्लूसिव नहीं बची तो वो लोग उसको उठा लेंगे. एट द सेम टाइम व्हेन यू पुट इट आउट एज ए ट्वीट ऑन योर ओन, आपके कितने फॉलोअर्स हो सकते हैं नॉर्मल आदमी का? ओके, 10,000, 20,000, 1 lakh, 2 lakhs. Best is tag all the newspapers you know in your tweet. छोटा बड़ा, उर्दू, हिंदी, इंग्लिश, बिकॉज हर किसी के हैंडल पे वो पहुंचने का है. It should reach as many handles as it can. Supposing you have tagged 100 guys on that, or maybe 50 guys in that tweet, even 5 people respond, whether through direct message or through retweet. That means your work, your word is traveling. That is our job in the PR industry. Our work, our word should travel. We should stay at one place. Our rapport should be so strong that we don't have to go knocking at the door of anybody. But he or she will pick up our phone, he or she will respond to our tweet, he or she will be happy to do a podcast with the person we suggest. Try to use all the tools of social media and adhere to the norms given to us by the Quran, and you won't get it wrong. The Quran emphasizes truth, justice, and cross-checking any information. Stick to that. No media can ever say you got it wrong. Stick to the speed part and saying everything in brevity, maybe with a bit of wit, and you have made your